How I Escaped the Narcissist. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Lisa, and in this video, I'm going to share my personal story of escape from my narcissistic, now ex-husband. When I left my husband, it was not like leaving a normal relationship, not in any way. Of course, no relationship with a narcissist is normal. In normal relationships, you can have an adult conversation about what's not working, decide to go your separate ways, and typically you can wish one another well in the future. This is impossible with a narcissist. My leaving really was an escape. I had tried everything humanly possible to save my marriage, talking, crying, pleading for him to change, to get him to stop screaming and yelling at me, to stop threatening to throw me out of the house whenever he was angry, to stop turning every conversation into an argument. I wanted and I believed for a long time that I could get back and get us back to the way we were in the beginning. I did not want to go through a divorce. Unfortunately, I saw that not only would he not change, he didn't think he needed to. And the abusive behavior continued to escalate. It became more frequent and it became more intense. He had expanded his verbal and emotional abuse to my children. My children, who were his stepchildren, were already young adults and they did not live with us. Even though he didn't see them very often, he made certain every visit was stressful. The last time my daughter visited, my husband was beyond nasty and mean to her. He literally screamed, threatened, and cursed her in front of me, in front of his own son, my stepson, and his son's friend. After this verbal assault, my daughter asked me if he'd ever been physically violent with me, and I told her no, that was the truth. She told me she thought he was going to put hands on her. And honestly, I had thought the same thing. Now, there is a video with a very short clip of this, and I've dropped the link for that in the description box below. There are several reasons that the clip is so short. I have been questioned about that. One of the many reasons is I am still involved in legal proceedings with him. Watching my husband scream at my daughter is really what sealed the fate of my marriage. I knew I would never be able to move past this. I knew my daughter would never want to visit again. I knew there was no way to repair this relationship. Yet, I still tried. I still loved him. I didn't want to leave. I wanted him to somehow make it right with my daughter, to apologize to her, to fix this in some way. I tried talking to him once he had calmed down, to no avail. He firmly believed he was justified in his treatment towards her, and nothing I could ever say could change his mind. And this now put me in the position of having to make a choice. Stand up for my daughter and myself and get out, or stay in this hellish situation. Anyone who knows me knows my children are the most important people in my life, and they always have been. I wasn't going to set an example for my daughter to put up with this kind of treatment in her future relationships. I wasn't going to allow my husband to ever again have the chance to attack her. I intended to show my daughter that she meant more to me than he did. I knew I had to get out. So I started planning my escape. First, I started contacting some family members who were aware of what I was dealing with, and I asked if I could stay with them indefinitely. My husband controlled all of the money, and I had no access to it. Now, my name was on the bank accounts, so I could have withdrawn funds. However, he didn't really grant me access to our accounts. And so even if I had been able to pull money out, this would have alerted him to my plans. I wasn't working at the time and I had very little money. So I had to secure a place to stay with family. There was no other way for me to leave. Now, once I established where I was going, I started removing some of my personal belongings from the home without his knowledge. I shipped old pictures that could not be replaced and other sentimental items. My husband was retired and he was home most of the time, so this was very tricky. So anytime he left the house, I was packing something to mail. During this time, while I was still with him, I put my ego aside. I swallowed my desire to lash out at him and instead just kept the peace as much as I possibly could, agreeing with him even though I didn't. I tried best as I could to keep to our usual routine. I continued to make him breakfast almost every morning as I had always done. I treated it as a mission. A very helpful friend got me a burner phone. My husband checked my phone constantly, so this way I was able to make plans via phone, and those calls did not show up on our phone bill. Also, as hard as it was, I catered to his gigantic ego. I was submissive. I was obedient. This was hard for me to do, but it was so well worth it. And my husband often bragged about having psychic abilities. He told me regularly that he was more psychic than I was, and more psychic than I will ever know. That same man never suspected a thing. And by the way, I never claimed to be psychic, and I don't claim to be psychic now. I contacted an attorney in advance of my leaving who offered a free consultation. I knew I was going to be in another state, and this helped me plan my divorce strategy, and it informed me of my rights. And here was another thing that was important. I got an attorney who had plenty of experience in recognizing narcissism. Luckily for me, there was a spiritual seminar that was coming up that I was asked to assist with, and that I would also be paid for. Fortunately, this seminar was out of state, and I was able to get my husband to purchase my plane ticket. I packed my bags with as much as I could without looking like I was leaving for good. Now, my husband questioned me on why I was taking my laptop. I told him I needed it for the seminar, and fortunately, that answer satisfied him. The evening before I left, I took pictures of my personal items. And originally, I did this so I could have someone else retrieve my belongings, and it would make it easier for them to find. I knew I never wanted to deal with my husband in person ever again once he knew about my plans to divorce him. I was well aware of his temper, of his viciousness, and of his vindictiveness. I didn't expect him to actually destroy my personal property, though I was warned about this from some people. I just couldn't imagine that he would stoop that low. So these photos proved to be useful in ways I never expected when he did in fact destroy my property. This gave me proof that these items existed. My husband actually provided further proof by writing me a letter once the divorce had ended, stating that he had destroyed my property. So, back to the morning I left. That morning, he drove me to the airport, and as we were saying goodbye, I hugged him and kissed him goodbye, and I remember turning around and hugging him again so tightly and kissing him again, knowing this was the last time. Knowing that any kindness or affection that he now only tossed my way on occasion, that I would never see that again. I knew it was fake on his end, but it was still hard for me to let go of the illusion. To let go of the illusion of who I believed he was. to let go of the illusion of love. Once I arrived at my destination, almost immediately, I wanted to go right back. Believe it or not, I will admit it, I wanted to go right back. So I do understand how difficult it is to break the trauma bond. I still had this small glimmer of hope that somehow this could still be fixed and that I could return. I could go back and that everything could somehow be worked out. We still talked over the phone daily, even after I left. Now, this was in the spring of 2020, and as we all are aware, the world changed as we knew it during this time. And in the most unexpected way, this helped me. Travel restrictions made it easier for me to delay my return, since he fully believed I was returning, and I was also waffling on that situation. The distance helped me to see my situation more clearly. And it was during this time I discovered he was grooming new supply. Almost all narcissists cheat, and they're also unable to be alone. He had found a woman who could not care less that he was married. And the really trashy thing about it is she's a reverend at a spiritual center who was just at the time coming out of a divorce herself. I said nothing to him about what I already knew. Also, I did not reach out to her. She had already showed her true character by being with a married man, no matter what he told her about me and what he told her about our relationship. She knew he was married, period. And again, she holds the title of Reverend, and I found that especially heinous. So, after 4 months of being away from him, still talking to him, him still telling me how much he loved me, while at the same time becoming involved with trash, I went ahead with my plan and I served him with divorce papers. I never discussed my leaving with him. I never discussed not coming back. And I never once mentioned the word divorce, because he no longer deserved that kind of openness from me. The last conversation that I had with him over the phone, which I recorded in full, ended with him screaming at me, something that he had sworn over and over he would never do again. But this time, I did not react. This time, I hung up on him. This time, I never called him back. This time, my response was to have him served with divorce papers. Despite it all, I still had so much love in my heart for him. I didn't really want to leave, but I knew I had to. Now, his reaction to being surprised by receiving divorce papers was to immediately destroy highly valuable property of mine and launching a smear campaign against me. Of course, I knew he had already been trash talking me behind my back for quite some time, even prior to my physical departure. So I stayed quiet for a long time. I immediately went no contact, and I blocked him on all social media. And in fact, me myself, I stayed off all of social media for months. This whole process was unbelievably painful, and basically I isolated myself. I only talked to a few people, and I stepped fully into my healing and my recovery. Once I had healed, I created this channel to tell my story and also to provide a safe, supportive platform for others to share their stories. I also created it to help other survivors, as well as hopefully helping others to recognize the red flags and the warning signs that, in my case, were there all along. If anything I share here through these videos helps even one person leave a toxic relationship or avoid one in the first place, then my efforts have been well worth it. This channel recently hit the 1,000 subscriber mark, which is a huge milestone for YouTube creators. And I want to thank each and every one of you who have subscribed and who helped make this possible. The more this channel grows, the more awareness is spread on narcissism and narcissistic abuse. Thank you all so much again, and may your day be blessed.